क्या?
ऑडियंस में कोई भी आ सकता है?
नहीं नहीं,
Yes,
सिर्फ
you can call in
पार्टिसिपेंट्स।
anyone.
कॉल इन एनीवन।
ओके गाइस, वी आर लाइव।
ये आई एम एडमिटिंग पीपल नाउ। ठीक है।
I request all participants to change their names to the team code and their roles.
हाँ, कैसे होगा उसमें नेम चेंज?
We are waiting for our second guest. We'll be beginning shortly with the competition. Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the final rounds of Deepshield 1.0, a policy presentation and drafting competition, hosted under Virtuosity Lexicon 2025 in collaboration with ODR Nexus. This year, the competition focuses on developing a generative AI regulation and privacy rights based public policy to safeguard against deepfakes. And we are excited to witness the best of the ideas and the presentations of our finalists today. This evening, on our judges panel, we are truly honored to have joined by exceptionally accomplished professionals who bring immense expertise and depth to our final round. Firstly, we have with us Advocate Ujjani Chatterjee, a distinguished human rights lawyer who has worked internationally on human rights and refugee issues, and her legal practice spans across major courts, including the Supreme Court of India. She holds an LLM from the University of Nottingham, supported by the prestigious Developing Solutions Master's Scholarship and the Great Scholarship. She is also the founder of the Lingering Shadows Initiative, which documents community narratives and provides legal support and training to marginalized groups. We are also privileged to have with us today Ms. Sumaya Noman, a research assistant in law and policy at the University of Dubai. She works on emerging technologies, data governance, and regulatory innovation, and is currently pursuing her PhD at the University of London in data privacy and cybersecurity in international arbitration. She's also collaborated with UAE authorities such as the RTA and GCAA on the forward looking policy projects. We are deeply honored to have both of you today with us, and we sincerely thank you for joining the final rounds of Deep Shield 1.0. Now, I would like to invite Janvi to walk us through the structure of the competition. Janvi, over to you.
Thank you, Anisha. Now, I will be taking you through the rules for this round of the policy presentation. Each team will get 10 minutes for the presentation. The timer will be on the top right corner, so please keep an eye on it. Once the 10 minutes are over, you will hear a beep sound like this. This is the beep sound. After that, the judges will have 5 minutes to ask their questions. For this round, the organizing team will be presenting the policy on behalf of the participants just to keep things uniform and fair for everyone. We request all speakers to be clear with the instruction. For example, if you want the presenter to scroll up, down, or move to the specific section or page number, kindly mention it clearly. All the participants are requested to keep the camera on throughout the competition. If anyone break any rules, it may lead to penalties or disqualification. At last, the decision of the judges and the organizers will be final. Now, with the permission of the judges, we would like to begin with the presentation round.
Hello, Arisha, Tanzil. I'm so sorry I'm a little late. I already explained it to Mahvesh that I might be a little late. But yes, I think that we can start now. Let's go ahead.
Sure. I would like to invite PDP01 for the presentation. PDP01.
Um, a, a warm good evening, respected judges, organizers, and dear participants. We are team PDP01 for today's presentation of our policy proposal titled National Policy on Generative AI Regulation and Privacy Protection Against Defects 2025. Now, I request my co-presenter to continue with the next. Before calling my co-presenter, I would like to highlight of a presentation which is deals with a legal, technological, and ethical framework necessary to safeguard citizens while promoting responsible for AI innovation. So, I request my co-presenter to continue with the next.
The first is executive summary. So in 2024, a deep fact grew 15-fold globally, and India is among the top 5 affected countries. According to the National Association of Software and Service Companies and Microsoft, over 20,000 manipulated videos were detected on Indian social platform in a single quarter. So, this deep facts threaten privacy, personal dignity, election integrity, and national security, and the gender justice. This may mislead to the public and they damage their reputation and even the social harmony. So the policy is to balance the innovation with safety and diversity for ensuring that AI development in India remains inclusive. So around 500 crore defect rehabilitation fund is proposed to support integration, including detection technology and victim support and awareness campaign. Policies and objectives of this first is to accountability for AI-generated content, meaning developers and platforms are responsible for the content they create or distribute. Second is the policy seeks to prevent privacy violation and the reputational harms, which is especially important for the individual targeted by the deep. Third is it is ensure that AI innovation is ethical and consistent with the constitutional is respecting rights like privacy, dignity, and
Sir,
free
may I please interrupt?
expression.
Your
So
voice
it
is
is
cracking. PDP01,
now,
speaker 1. Your voice is not audible.
now, ma'am.
If the speaker too can continue the presentation.
Yeah, yes, I'll be dealing with the next. Uh, with the overview of the completed. Now I'll continue with the next set of policy components focusing on the ethics, awareness, and implementation of the policy. Now we have AI ethics and public awareness. As we move into core regulatory mechanisms, one of strongest pillar of policy is the creation of a national AI ethics code. This code is grounded in fairness, accountability, non discrimination, as reflected in United Nations educational, scientific, and cultural organizations, as 2021 AI ethics recommendations, as well as the Organization for Economic Cooperation Development principles. And the policy recognizes that public awareness is the first line of defense, and therefore digital literacy complaints under the campaigns under the digital media missions will teach citizens how to identify manipulated media by integrating AI awareness modules into schools, universities, and government training centers. As we prepare society not legally but also culturally for this technological shift. Next, regulation alone cannot solve AI misuse. We need innovation to encourage safe technological growth, and the policy introduces responsible AI innovation grants, and these grants incentivize startups and researchers to adapt ethics by design, like partnerships with IITs, Triple ITs, and NASCOMs, which is a non-profit organization. And also, this will support the development of open source detection tools. This approach already validated in global models like the EU AI Act. This strategy ensures that law enforcement and investigators have access to cutting edge digital forensics. Ultimately, the policy creates balance, strict safeguards alongside a thriving ethical AI ecosystem. Defects do not respect national boundaries. Therefore, the policy focuses heavily on cross-border cooperation. and India will negotiate specialized with a mutual partnership on artificial intelligence for digital forensics and evidences sharing in AI related crimes. And also we collaborate with uh, CPI, OECD, and UNSUC, and propose the regional frameworks under the SARC and BIMSTEC. And this international alignments is essential because global platforms host most deepfake content through shared watermark standards and common investigate procedures. And in India, positions itself as a global leader in responsible AI governance. And the most important part of this policies implementation plan, which is divided into three phases, which is first one is phase one deals with 2025 to 2026, focusing on institutional architecture, establishing the DRA and creating a national registry of AI models, and drafting operational rules and licensing norms. And phase two integrates a technology with the governance, like water making infrastructure across platforms, training law enforcement agencies and cyber cells, and real-time audit systems. And last phase, which is 2028 and 30, shift to societal engagement, like digital literacy, biennial impact reviews, and adaptive policy updates. This phase approach ensures robust, scalable, and legally complement enforcement. And most as dedicated deepfake prevention fund, at least of 500 crore will support research, audits, and cyber forensics infrastructure and public education to ensure trust and the transparency. The DRA will coordinate with certain and state cyber cells and the Ministry of Home Affairs also. And AI and a national AI forensic lab will authenticate disputed media as reducing evidentiary challenges. And also platform accountability will be strengthened through mandatory quarterly audits. And additionally, amendments and appellant cyber tribunals will guarantee gravitional mechanisms. And this policy is not just technological, it is deeply ethical and gender concerns. Deepfakes disproportionately target women, journalists, and activists, creating a psychological trauma and reputational damages. So, therefore, the policy makes gender sensitive investigation mandatory, and victim support will follow trauma informed guidelines and developed with the National Commission for Women and Human Rights organizations educationally. And AI literally will be embedded into schools and university curricula. This multi-layered ethical approach ensures that the society internalize responsible AI behavior at entry level. So, looking ahead, the policy adopts a future oriented vision, which technology foresight cells under DRA will study emerging challenges like neuro AI, quantum generated media, and hyper realistic avatars in metaverse. And also policy mandates 5 year comprehensive review by an independent expert committee to ensure adaptability. And it also integrated into India AI Mission 2024 to 2030 to ensure a national coherence in research, scaling, and innovation. May I request the judges to give me the time for 2 minutes? I'll conclude with. And India will host an annual international conference on deepfake governance, making the country as a global thought leader. As we expect several measurable outcomes from this policy, like reduction in deepfake crimes and identity theft, and a strengthened digital trust ecosystem, and reliable evidentiary standards in courts, and ethical AI entrepreneurship aligned with the global norms, and greater digital participation for women. These outcomes shows how the policy protects democracy, national security, and individual dignity. As we can conclude by Vision 2030, which is this policy envisions India as a trusted digital republic built on three pillars, which is authenticity, ensuring truth survives in the stage of stimulations, and also second one is accountability, ensure making innovations responsible and transparent, and last one, accessibility, allowing every citizen to use technology safely. So this policy is not merely a regulatory document, it is moral commitment to ensure that technology serves democracy. And with this, I conclude. We believe this policy offers India a globally competitive yet ethically grounded framework, and that balances safeguard innovation with constitutional values and security with human dignity.
I can go ahead and ask questions now, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
yes.
ma'am. Yes.
Yes, speaker two, very well presented. I just had a question. You discussed very deeply about importance of democracy and how the national rights are going to be protected. You talked about dignity, which is all very important, especially when it comes to deepfakes and AI. However, in today's time, we know that we have to enable AI, because innovation in today's time is actually moving forward only with the help of AI. So I really want to know, how does your policy, specifically the one that you have drafted, is planning to strike a balance between protecting privacy rights and enabling innovation at the same time?
Yes, thank you for the question. Actually, which focuses on a balanced rights based on technology and a feasible approach. All provisions we propose, whether legal or ethical or technical, are designed to ensure accountability and protect privacy and maintain innovation across the through the legally and technologically, and based on that framework our position is consistent with the principles outlined in our policy which we im- proposed.
Okay, all right.
Can I ask my question?
Yeah, yes.
Thank you. So, I want to kind of expand from what Ms. Nomani also asked. Um, I want to understand the kind of judicial structure or quasi judicial structure that you propose. I know you took us through that. You spoke a little about the tribunals and the kind of. I want to understand the procedures they will follow, what powers, and how do you create, say, I want to give you an example. Say a journalist has done a piece which a politician does not like, and they say it is deep fake, and there is a huge case against her. It's going to take time. How does she protect herself as a journalist, as a journalistic freedom of speech and expression, etc., at the same time also to balance out the privacy and dignity and honor of the politician? We don't know at this stage who is correct, and whether it's an agitprop, it's a wrong article or whatever. But at this point, how is your tribunal, which you have proposed, going to handle the case per se?
Like, thank you for the question, but first of all, we implemented like tribunals instead of the going to the courts, like because we all know the courts have the long procedure to uh, proceed with the other disputes, so that we introduced like tribunals where will solve with the disputes between the or any misunderstandings with the clients citizens of the.
Right. I just want to have a follow up on that question. I understand you are suggesting tribunals for a speedier uh, you know, resolution, but don't you think the elaborate procedures in courts and the powers that a court has actually creates checks and balances? The fact that there are checks and balances, the fact there is procedural order and decorum, is why a judicial process takes time. Whereas tribunals, especially which are quasi in nature like this, can become a little dicey in terms of giving out justice, because the power, that's why I want to know how much powers are you giving your tribunals. Say, for instance, is a civil procedure code and the evidence act going to be applicable on your tribunal? What kind of, how powerful is your tribunal going to be?
Our tribunal is like um, we ensure first we through a unified helpline and DRA portals and the state nodal officers. Through these, we will be will be dealing with the cases, and also as well as the we ensure at the same time we have to deliver the, justice for the through for the balanced rights and the rights based and technological approaches, right? So for that, basically I'm didn't go through which for mostly, but we are at tribal or to approach the or to implement the laws for the or to implement the enforcement to negotiate with the all matters will look into for that.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, judges. We will now open the floor for anyone in the audience. If they have any questions to them, they may ask.
If I may, by the permission of the judges, can I ask a question?
Sure, please go ahead. Yes.
Yes. So, speaker number one, I just want to know one thing. We are all well aware of the disastrous effects of deepfakes, right? We are yet to discover one utility that they serve. So, my question might sound a little like a sweeping remark or something, but why can't we just ban deepfakes as a whole?
Can you repeat it?
We are well aware of the disastrous effects of deepfakes. All right.
Yeah.
We know that they are used for child pornography. We know they're used to create defamatory content for women of marginalized communities. Like Reddit is swamped with such contents. I just want to ask, we don't know if they serve any purpose so far. Like we know that they can inflict a disaster on the world at large. I mean, I can make a deepfake that Kim Jong Un is going to attack America and start a world war if I am that good a deepfake artist. So why can't we just ban it? Why should we try to navigate around it?
Uh, because especially when it comes to we need technology, and at the same time this deepfake technology has become cheaper and more accessible and hyper realistic with a 15-fold increases in India according to the Microsoft and NASCOM. So what I think is like a deepfakes especially manipulates the real individuals identity of face voices creating a risk of destruction and harm, but we at the same time we have to protect the a, uh, a citizen, so that we need technology, so that I would say that instead of banning the defects, we might have to reconsider it, and we have to make implementing the policy with the new regulations might be helpful for. See, does when it comes to does whether regulating defects or violating is I'll agree with that, but at the same time we are regulating harmful depiction when it comes to violating free speech and all these things, not creative expression, and the by following the these norms, and also by implementing the um, punishment for the non consequential defects, like up to 3 years implement plus the fine with it. This might be helpful for the with this second. Thank you for.
Okay, so now moving forward, PDP02, you may start with the presentation. PDP02.
Am I audible?
Yes, you
Am I
are.
audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Good evening, honorable judges. Today, we PDP02 Speaker 1 will be starting with the presentation or our policy on deepfake governance 2025. So this is a comprehensive framework designed to address the rising threat posed by deepfake technologies in India. In recent years, generative AI has grown at an unprecedented rate. It can now create synthetic images, videos, audios, and text and whatnot, and they are almost indistinguishable from real human expression. While this technology has artistic and commercial value, it poses serious threats to privacy, identity, national security, and democratic processes, as well as it harms the public trust. So this policy we are presenting not only aims to strike a balance between innovation and protection, but it ensures that India leads in responsible and ethical AI regulation. So why deepfake regulation has become essential? So it is essential for our violation of privacy and dignity, which is our basic human element. It also threatens democracy, has financial frauds and cybercrimes, and creates legal gaps with the existing laws such as IT Act 2000, DPDP Act 2023, and the newest BNS Act 2023. They do not define synthetic media and they do not mandate consent and lack platform accountability. Hence, deepfakes fall through regulatory cracks, and this makes our policy relevant in today's times. So, now talking about the policy objectives. So, basically, it involves promoting verifiable and trustworthy generative AI, protects individual identity, privacy, and biometric data. It ensures accountability and transparency, and it ensures that malicious use is prohibited. Also, it follows encourages ethical innovation, strengthens interagency and international cooperation, also ensures improved public digital trust. Now, moving on to our policy. So, basically, we have categorized our policy into various frameworks, starting with the legal definition and categorization. So, basically, there has to be a division between acceptable uses, for example, satire, education, authorized media, research with content and labeling, and secondly, the malicious uses, which involve impersonation, fraud, blackmail, misinformation, identity theft, or anything that harms public order or reputation. Next, we come on to the consent and mandatory disclosure. So everything which is deepfake or AI regulated has to have a digital AI generated mark or a watermark which ensures that the people who are publishing it should know about it. Now we come on to the platform accountability. It is not the people who are vulnerable to such uses. Generative AI is a need for today's hour, but what should be accountable should be the digital platforms such as social media, video sharing sites, or streaming platforms. They integrate AI-based deepfake detection tools and should be flagging and reporting mechanisms should be provided. They should confirm the malicious content within 24 to 48 hours and report cases to relevant authorities and cooperate with investigations. It should include monetary penalties, temporary suspension, and in extreme cases, revocation of platform operating licenses. Now, talking about the legal and enforcement framework, so our policy involves regulating a deepfake regulation and accountability act, which should criminalize malicious creation or distribution of deepfakes. It should also resemblance and voices as sensitive personal data and empower victims with rights to removal, redressal, compensation, prosecution, or anything which is necessary. So special cyber units or special digital forensic labs should be strengthened to handle deepfake related crimes and efficiency. Now talking about institutional frameworks, so there has to be a national deepfake monitoring and response system, which should include real-time monitoring of deepfake threats, especially with people who have large number of followers, issuing the takedown notices, maintain a blockchain-based deepfake registry, and coordinate with social media platforms, police, and international bodies. There has to be an ethical AI innovation and research support to grow and create a public responsibility. Now, talking about public awareness and digital literacy. So, we should organize a campaign called Recognize, Report, and Resist Deepfakes.
It should teach people about how AI is necessary in today's times and should not be manipulated for wrongful means. We should also train important dignitaries like journalists, educators, or law enforcement personnel about how this is an important and an essential element in today's lives. Finally, we have described penalties as per authorized deepfake creation, malicious deepfake creation, report offenders and organized misuse, and the repeated offences and platform failures, defining each of the severity of the offence and also the kind of imprisonment and fine elements. The further implementation strategy will be discussed by speaker 2.
So now we will discuss about the legal and the policy framework. So the legal and the policy framework of the Deepfake Governance 2025 policy aims to fill critical gaps in Indian cyber law, privacy protection, and digital accountability. We need new legislative framework because the current Indian laws such as IT Act 2000, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023, and certain provisions of Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023 do not explicitly recognize or regulate the synthetic media or AI generated impersonation. They focus on data misuse, not synthetic identity manipulation. So, this act will serve as the India's first comprehensive legal framework for synthetic media. It will legally define deepfakes, synthetic media, AI-generated likeness, and digital impersonation. It will prohibit it creation, alteration, distribution, or monetization of synthetic content without consent. It will criminalize malicious deepfake misuse of defamation, fraud, political manipulation, harassment, identity theft, sexual exploitation. It will also provide enforcement with direct authority to issue takedown orders, trace digital origin, and block access to the harmful content. So, this act places individual rights at the center of the legislating system content. During the amendment, there will be there were we will speak about the few amendments of the existing law. The first is DPDP Act 2023. It should the amendment should classify face likeness, voice, and biometric resemblance as a sensitive personal data. In the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, we should also add provisions of the digital impersonations, synthetic defamation, and identity manipulation via AI. Now, our third point is the institutional framework. We should create a national synthetic media that the policy process, the creation of the National Synthetic Media Oversight Board, which will be responsible for the supervising enforcement across states, clarifying air detection technologies, coordinating with the police and the cyber units, and maintaining synthetic media reporting channels. A fourth point is that we should also collaborate with the international societies and things. Deepfake crimes often involve cross-border offenders. So India will engage with Interpol, global AI governance bodies, and multiple legal assistance treaties to enable data sharing, trace digital origin, extradition of offenders, and cross-jurisdiction investigation. Now, I will speak about the key provisions. The key provisions in this Act, there are major six key provisions. First, we will legal recognitions of the deepfakes. Deepfakes formally recognized as a digital impersonations under Indian law. No consensual synthetic content treated as a privacy violation in cybercrime. We should also talk about the consent and the individual rights. It will explicit, informed, and recorded consent required before using a person's likeness or voice in AI generated content. The individual should have the right to know, right to consent, right to reassure, and right to readdress and compensations. Now, the third is platform accountability. Every digital platform must have a label AI generated content clearly. It should maintain traceability records and it should provide grievances redress mechanisms. It should also there should also be penalties for platforms negligence, including fees, operational restrictions, and even license supervisions. Now, I, there are three steps in the implementation and the enforcement, three major phases. It will be a three-phase structure. The first structure will be the 1 year structure. It will be the implementation structure. They will it will led by the Ministry of Electronics and the uh, I would like to conclude
Participant,
now.
your time is up.
I would like to conclude now. Deepfake Governance 2025 is not just a policy, but it is a proactive national safeguard against one of the biggest digital threats of our time. It protects privacy, identity, and democratic values, social orders, and technological integrity. It balances innovation with safety, ensuring India becomes a leader in ethical AI general. We should also amend the IT and the Digital Act to explicitly include deepfake and synthetic media offenses. We should establish a deepfake monitoring authority under MEITY for enforcement and coordination. We should also mandate the watermarkings and the AI origin labeling to ensure transparency. We should launch large-scale public awareness programs on identifying and reporting deepfakes. We should also enforce strict platforms accountability, including financial penalties and operational restrictions. We should also support AI research in detection, watermarking, and authenticating through grants. And last, we should regularly update the policy according to the advances in generative AI. Thank you.
May I?
Jenny, yeah, sure, go ahead. Go with the
Sorry.
questions first.
Thank you. Right. So I feel like listening to your policy brief, it seems like extremely heavy on penalties. And also, I'm not sure, of course, you've brought in a very new term of synthetic content generation, but the implication essentially is the same what is already covered within all these various law, whether it is defamation, whether it is human dignity and all of that. Now, do you not feel that having such grave penalties without, I mean, there is not even a judicial oversight that we are talking about, and it's mostly being executive controlled and giving, large abilities to, take down orders and more of censoring content, because you started by saying about the ethical use of AI in terms of artistic creation or any kind of commercial creation, etc. But how do you balance that out? How do you balance that artistic creation with the heavy penalties that you've made, and what is the kind of judicial oversight that you can provide through this policy framework?
So, may I?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much for the question. So basically, we started AI with a creative analysis of certain things. So, but you talked about the heaviness of the penalties that we are imposing. So it's not about that. Basically, we are first proposing the precautions. We are first advising platforms to create a report site, to create a watermarking site, to create necessary provisions so that it can be the real content can be distinguished between the deepfakes. And when it comes to deepfakes, it's not just about uh, anything which is artistic. It comes to a person's reputation. Especially in today's times when we see women, there are pornographic content all over the internet, and who is suffering just the human's right of privacy and dignity. So first, we are proposing the precautions which every platform should must adhere to. Secondly, if those precautions are not taken into regard, then it becomes necessary to impose such penalties because it is necessary in today's times to because we know that an excuse of law is not excusable. So basically, anything which you don't know about and running such a big site, it's not excusable. You should know about it. You should take into this regard. Otherwise, penalties should be taken into regard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, PDP2, very good, but I have questions. One of them is a legal question, and the other speaker one discussed about something that is called real-time monitoring of deepfakes. And I'm sure it's a part of your policy. And the thing is that obviously, when there's real time monitoring, that is done with the help of automated systems. And most of the times, it is known that they have a very high error rate when it comes to automated decision making by systems when they do real time monitoring. So, how is it that your policy would help prevent something like this? Because it's like, because technically you're, and everybody's probably saying that we are going to use the help of AI to curb AI. But then how do you know how you're going to stop the automated system from making errors?
So the automated systems, thank you very much for the question, first of all. So the automated systems where we are using AI for an AI. So that was just one of the features for our policy, but it also talks about wherein we have to report a certain kind of criteria. So if a person comes into a situation where they recognize that the reputation is being harmed or it is an unethical way of using deepfakes into a personality, so we should take into regard the kind of policy structure which follows. A real-time monitoring is just a way to ensure that the sites are using necessary things to take this into regard, but the kind of procedure which has to follow when something is harming a person or an individual or an entity. So there has to be a specified procedure wherein a report has to be taken within 24 to 48 hours of regulation, and they should check into the matter. If anything is unserious, they should take it down immediately. Or if anything which is not regulatory, it has to be a watermark system. So it's not about the real-time monitoring. That is just one of the features, but a whole procedure should also follow within it.
All right. And the second question is, there was a lot of emphasis on platform liability, and
Yes.
which is essentially very important. However, obviously, the content, all of these platforms, they're there. You can create any kind of a fake content through it, not necessarily bad. But then, how come you haven't discussed about any liability on the creators? Or why wouldn't you talk about a tiered liability format when it comes to something like this?
We cannot control a human mind. People will do all sort of things. They'll do criminal sort of things. They'll do everything. But when it comes to putting out into on social media, it depends on the social media platforms to watermark it, to distinguish between the real things.
But the
So that
person who has created the image is not going to be held liable for anything that they've done?
they are liable, but we are talking about the precautionary policy. So that platform has to be much more liable in this category. Then, if it has with the whole procedure, if it is identified that the person was liable, then the whole procedure, judicial procedure, will follow. But we are talking about a policy wherein platforms have to take in precautions regarding it.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, judges. We will now open the floor for audience to ask questions. If there is anyone in the audience who have any question, they may ask.
I have a question, if I may, by the permission of the judges.
Yes.
Speaker PDP02, I just wanted to ask a very technical question. Like, suppose I have created an objectionable deepfake using two different AI modules. One is an image generated by, let's say, Stable Diffusion. All right, it's an objectionable image that was generated on Stable Diffusion, but I have automated it and I have animated it using Kling AI. All right. Given your platform accountability feature, how do you I just want to understand, how do you quantify the amount of penalty, who gets fined, who get penalized, to what extent? One made the image and the other brought the image to light.
So we will be penalizing more the AI method, which is bringing it into light, because generating something and keeping it to yourself is not something which is harming it publicly. It's not creating a reputational cost to the person. But if it is generated publicly into a larger audience, then it is creating a haywire situation. So there'll be a consequences for both of them, but if we are talking about the severity of liability, the one bringing it to light will be severely held liable. Thank you.
All right, so we will now move on to our next team, PDP03. You may start with the presentation.
Good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Good evening to all the
Okay.
respected judges, the team, and my fellow participants. Today, I am going to talk about something that looks like a technology issue, but in reality, it is the issue on the surface. It affects our dignity, our privacy, our democracy, and also our basic idea of truth. I'm talking about deep fakes. Now, what are deep fakes? They are the videos or audios that look real, sound real, but are completely manufactured by artificial intelligence. And what I want to present today is not just information, but a policy framework, a practical plan that India can adopt to protect people from this new kind of digital harm. Now, I will request my next speaker to continue.
Now I will discuss about the crisis we are entering. There was a time when we believed video evidence doesn't lie. A time when recorded photos or clip were considered the ultimate proof. But that era is sadly gone. Today, anybody with a normal laptop or even a mobile app can destroy your reputation in seconds. Deepfake technology used to require high-end systems and expert programs. Now it's available through simple consumer apps, and the results are very realistic. This isn't just a technical problem, but it is a trust problem. If we can't trust what we see or hear online, then justice can become very difficult. Elections become vulnerable, and individual dignity becomes easy to attack. Now I will tell you about the types of deepfake harm. Can you scroll? Deepfake don't cause one single type of harm. There are many types of them, and each one is very harmful in its own way. Number one, I can say the non consensual intimate deepfake. This is sadly the most common one. Girls and women are targeted the most. Their face are placed onto the sexual content. Their emotional and mental impact can be devastating. Number two, political deepfake. Can you scroll? Thank you. Imagine a fake video of a politician giving a fake speech the night before the election. By the time it's proven fake, the damage has already been done to his reputation. Number three, financial fraud deepfake. There have been cases where CEOs were paid to instruct employees to transfer money. Even biometric system can be tricked by the deepfake. Number four, reputation attack. A student, a teacher, or any normal person can be shown doing something wrong, and before they even get a chance to defend themselves, the video goes viral. Deepfake move faster than the truth itself. Now I will like my speaker one to continue.
Now let's get to know about why the current Indian laws are not sufficient for the issue. India does have both cyber laws and the Indian Penal Code as well, but most of these laws were written decades before deepfakes even existed. So the IPC has gaps, as I already mentioned, because it was made decades ago before it was even an issue. For defamation, we must prove intention, but deepfake creators often remain anonymous, which is hard to punish them. Obscenity laws weren't written for artificial intelligence generated impersonation. Personation, sorry, Personation laws don't cover synthetic identity creation. Also, the Information Technology Act also has its own limitations. Platforms get safe harbor unless they are officially notified. They have 36 hours to remove harmful content, but deepfakes don't take 36 hours to go viral. They only take 36 minutes. Our basic rights exist, but enforcement is quite slow to provide justice to the victims. Now, the Supreme Court has already said in the case of KS Puttaswamy versus Union of India 27, it was held that privacy is a fundamental right and reputation is a part of the right to life, which is mentioned under Article 21 of the Constitution. Secondly, I would also like to mention the case of Subramanian Swamy versus Union of India 2016. In this case, it was held that criminal defamation as a reasonable restriction under Article 19, Clause 2 of the Constitution. But practically speaking, by the time a person reaches court, the harm is already permanent. This is why a dedicated modern policy is needed not to replace free speech, but to protect people from falsehood and harm. Now let's get to know about the policy we propose. Our policy has three layers. They are as provenance, prevention, and protection. Or simply we can say know the source, stop the spread, and help the victim. Now let's discuss the layer one of the policy, which is provenance. Where did this come from? The first step is making sure every piece of AI generated content comes with an identity tag. Mandatory watermarking at creation. Every AI generated image, video, or audio must carry a secure watermark or metadata that shows it is AI generated, which model created it, when it was created, also what kind of edits were made using that module. This follows the global C2PA standard, which companies like Adobe, Google, and Microsoft are already adopting. Removing metadata must be an offense. If someone tries to erase or alter this watermark, it should count as tampering, which is which in alone is an offense, a punishable offense. Registering large AI models, just like big institutions have to register, major AI model developers must also register with an independent digital regulatory authority. This gives investigators a trail to follow instead of hitting a dead end. Let's get to know about our layer 2 prevention. Platforms must act before damage happens. Right now, platforms act only after the deepfake goes viral. This needs to change. Risk based tiers. Not all deepfakes are equal, so the law should classify them into three main tiers, which are as tier 1, high risk harmful deepfakes. Now it includes sexual deepfakes, election manipulation, financial fraud, and any content involving minors in it. Here, platforms must use automated detection tools, block uploads proactively, remove flagged content within 1 hour of its posting, lose save R if they fail, and face penalties up to rupees 50 crore. Now, tier 2 is reputational deepfakes. These must be taken down within the 8 hours once notified. Tier 3 is our parody. These are protected but must be clearly labeled as parody. Burden of proof shifts to platforms. Once a victim files a complaint with basic evidence, the platform must prove I had detection tools, I acted quickly, I tried to stop re uploads. The victim shouldn't be forced to fight alone. Instead, the system should also support the victim to get the justice. Now, layer 3 protection. Fast justice for victims. This is perhaps the most important part. New detected dedicated thoughts. Two new civil wrongs should be created. That is, number one is non-consensual digital impersonation. You don't have to prove intention if your face is used without your consent. It alone is an offense. That's enough to for you to get punished. B. Provenance tampering. Anyone altering watermarks is directly liable under the penal code. Secondly, fast track digital content injunction bench, a special bench in high courts to give relief within the first 24 hours. Imagine a girl who finds a deepfake of herself online. Instead of waiting for months, she can submit an affidavit and an AI verification report and get an immediate injunction. Third, statutory damages. For the most harmful cases, victims should receive minimum of rupees 50 lakh of the compensation without having to prove financial loss. This is not just justice, it is deterrence. Now, I would like to put the next speaker to just continue.
Now I will tell you about the special protection for the minor. Children's teenagers are the most vulnerable one. So any deepfake involving a minor is automatically tier 1. Immediate takedown, strict penalties, and mandatory age verification for AI tool. Digital literacy to be taught from class 6 onward. Dedicated child safety desk on platform. Minor safety must come always first. Now I will talk about the constitutional balance. You might wonder, do these rules violate the free speech? No. Freedom of speech is not absolute. Reputation and privacy are also fundamental rights. Restrictions are valid, they are reasonable and proportional and targeted. This policy is exactly that. It protects truth, not suppresses the opinion. It protects the people, not silences the opinion themselves.
Now, let us just conclude the policy. We are entering a world where anyone's image, voice, or identity can be stolen and remixed into a lie. A world where truth can be manufactured. Please lend me a minute to just conclude my policy. A world where truth can be manufactured. If we don't act now, deepfakes will not just distort videos, they will distort lives, elections, justices, and reality itself. The policy we presented today focuses on three simple but powerful ideas: mark the truth, stop the lies, and protect the people. This is not just a legal framework, it's a safeguard for our
For our
integrity,
integrity,
our
our
privacy,
privacy,
and
and our
our democracy.
democracy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Can we ask questions now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sure.
Yes, Team 3, well done. There were some very good ideas there. However, you did discuss about a few things about special protection for minors and things like that. You distributed it between different tiers of what a deepfake is. I want to know what ethical principles guided your policy when you were drafting it.
Ma'am, the ethical principles are
And
first of all,
just a minute to continue the question, because most of all of your policy presentations have really heavily dependent on the emotional side of why this policy is required, which is why I really think we should also discuss about the ethical principles that went into you drafting your
Ma'am,
policies.
ma'am, the ethical principles are like if someone is using someone else's face without their consent, I personally believe that it should be an offense in itself because आप मतलब किसी और because how can you use someone's identity without letting them know or without their consent? So yes, it should be an offense, and ethically it is also wrong because when you are using someone else's identity, you are just uh, you are just making the reality a lie.
Can I ask my question? Sorry.
Yes, please.
Thank you. So, about the penalties and the manner in which you deal with all of this, you shift the burden of proof on the defendants. You give ex parte relief, and of course, there's this ambitious thing of having a special bench in the High Court, which is very interesting to think about. But how do you balance it with the constitutional principles? Because all of these criminal law procedures is actually turning um, around the law of evidence and criminal procedure which exists in terms of balancing the rights of the defendant as well as the prosecution. So how does your policy sit with the constitutional idea of a fair trial and the criminal procedures that exist as they do within India and in common law system?
Ma'am, can you please repeat?
So my question is, your penalties and the procedure in which you want to deal with any, say, a deep fake coming up is by number one, you say that the burden of proof is on the defendant. So the prosecution, the complainant doesn't have to prove anything. I just have to make an allegation, and the defendant has to prove that they are not guilty. Whereas ordinarily in criminal procedure, a defendant is understood to be not guilty until they are found to be guilty. So they are innocent until found to be guilty, right? Then there are provisions of ex parte orders where a court gives an order out, which seemingly is a criminal scenario without hearing the other side. That is your defendant. So a defendant gets a penalty without being heard. So that kind of puts around the entire principle of criminal law procedure that exists to balance out the rights of both parties, where particularly we believe that somebody is innocent until they are proven guilty, which also sits with the constitutional principles of fair trial. So how does your policy sit with these constitutional principles and principles of criminal justice and natural justice?
Thank you, ma'am, for the question. First of all, ma'am, so the penalties in the deep fate policies are constitutionally balanced because, ma'am, they impose reasonable restriction under Article 19(2) and Clause 2, protects the fundamental rights to privacy and reputation under the freedom of speech on Article 21, and satisfy the proportionality and due process lay down test in Puttaswamy, like case law of Puttaswamy. So, ma'am, our policy protects the ma'am mainly protects the ma'am. So basically, earlier IPC was not updated to the day-to-day laws and the starting and all and the AI generated content. But now BNS is very updated to these all issues. So that's all.
Sure, they are update. I'm not challenging the fact that we need dynamic laws to deal with the present circumstances. But how do you justify the proportionality of it? How do you say this reasonable restriction is reasonable enough? How is this reasonable?
Ma'am, first of all, if as I already said, if someone's identity is being stolen, then that itself is a punishable offense. Also, if you are misusing it and just creating something objectionable or something obscene with it, so I think it should be punishable. Yeah, yeah, it is covered under the right to life of Article 21, and also the Article 19 of the Constitution, which is the freedom of expression. It is not an absolute right. It is a. It also has its own exceptions. So you literally can express yourself, but it shouldn't just damage someone else's reputation or right as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, judges. The floor is now open for audience to ask questions.
With the permission of the judges, may I? Yeah, okay. So PDP 03. So I think the policy suggested that these sort of distortions created by deepfakes be treated as a tortious offense, right? You're making it tortiously liable. So naturally, there would be some compensatory cost awarded. So my question is, how do you like? What is the matrix for quantifying this compensatory cost? And additionally, how would you balance, say, this treatment of it as a tortious liability and then penalizing it as a crime? Like, how are you suggesting that the policy would balance it? Like, is it a two-phased approach, or are you like what are the matrix of approaching and qualifying what might be a tortious liability and what would be treated as a criminal offense?
First of all, we mentioned it as a dedicated thought because the civil wrong is also created. That is, number one is a non-consensual digital impersonation. Like, if you first of all, impersonation is itself an offense, especially in the digital form, also, and as we mentioned already, that if there is a digital content, AI generated content, then it should also have its own identity tag. So it is easy to just track and know that how it was made and what way or what edits were used to make it. So yes. Mm,
Okay, so maybe I think I came off wrong and I wasn't able to clarify. I'm just asking that, see, when you're calling it that it's a tortiously liable action, so there must be for the person who's suffering at the end of it, who's at the receiving end of these deepfakes, they must be in some ways compensated, right? So, is there any provision for a compensatory cost? And if there is, so what would be the matrix of identifying what is the extent of such compensatory cost? Or if you're just treating it as a criminal offense, like I'm just trying to understand which way is this policy uh, sort of leaning.
as we have already said that a minimum of 50 lakh rupees, 50 lakh of the compensation should be given to the victim, and a maximum of it can go approx, I think, 50 cr, because it is a huge thing to steal someone else's identity and just defame them. So yes, this was the compensation that we have mentioned in the policy.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you so much, Appi. Moving forward with PDP 04, you may start with the presentation.
PDP 04
PDP
is not.
04. All right. Now I would like to invite PDP 05 to start with the presentation. PDP 05, you may start with the presentation.
Am I audible and visible? Hello.
You are
Yes.
audible, but you're not.
Am I audible and visible?
You are audible, but we cannot see you. You're not visible.
Now, am I visible?
You were visible for a second and then kind of went again.
So sorry for the interruption. I just need a second. Hello.
Yes, you are audible, but you're still not visible to us. You may begin with the presentation if it is an issue.
I'm trying. Am I visible now?
As soon as you start speaking, your images goes away. So I think you should just start your presentation.
Just to clarify, actually, I have added one more device just to avoid any interruption. So might possible.
Yes, sir, visible now.
Okay. Okay. So respected panel of judges, esteemed organizers, and my fellow participants, good evening to everyone. Today, we stand at a defining moment in the future of information, identity, and institutional trust. With great responsibility, we present our public policy proposal titled the Deepfake and Synthetic Media Regulation Act 2026, a policy framework designed to safeguard truth in an era where technology can manufacture lies. So imagine waking up to a video of yourself doing something you never did, yet the world believes it. A deepfake does not just edit an image, it edits a life, a reputation, and a future. But what actually are deepfakes? Deepfakes are AI generated or manipulated audio, image, or video content created using deep neural networks, making a person appear to say or do something they never actually did. They fall under a wide category of synthetic media, which is partially or fully generated by artificial intelligence. And this brings us to the core of our concern, the need to address the deepfake challenge. So, kindly navigate the page of under the heading background and need. Okay, thank you. So deepfakes create multi-dimensional harm. Deepfake pose a multi-layered threat. In fact, one of the most serious concerns is non-consensual sexual deepfakes, which disproportionately target women and minors, which causes psychological impact and trauma. Deepfakes also enable political misinformation and election manipulation. Further, there are financial and corporate frauds using deepfake voice impersonation. In fact, there are erosion of trust in journalism and digital evidence. So this is not merely a technological disruption. It is a social, ethical, and legal crisis. These combined risks create an urgent policy need for a clear regulatory framework that protects citizens and preserves the integrity
of an information ecosystem. Now, having understood why deepfakes pose a profound risk to dignity, democracy, and digital trust, it is equally important to look at how this threat is unfolding in the real world today. So, as I have mentioned in my before my policy draft, there are some of the examples of the current situation, such as the recent incident where deepfake sexual imagery of Indian female actors circulated without their consent. There are fabricated political speeches made viral during electoral cycles. In fact, corporate payment frauds executed using AI generated CEO voice commands. So these incidents demonstrate that deepfakes are operational, scalable, and capable of mass harm. Furthermore, we have added some of the data as per the official reports. If we can scroll down a little bit, there are some of the data provided in Indian context, I guess. So global deepfake content exploded from 5 lakh files in 2023 to a projected 8 million in 2025, which marks a 900% annual growth rate. And India is at the epicenter of this threat. In fact, there have been social economic impact as well. There are economic losses of 70,000 crore in 2025. So these incidents are not just digital harms, they raise direct constitutional concerns because deepfakes strike at rights that our constitution guarantees to every person in India. So deepfakes undermine core constitutional protections such as Article 21, which is right to life and personal liberty, and as affirmed in Justice K.S. Puttaswamy v. Union of India 2027, privacy includes control and over personal identity and image. Non-consensual deepfakes violate informational privacy and the dignity. Furthermore, the deepfakes are being categorized under, we can categorize deepfakes under Article 19, Clause 2, which imposes restrictions on freedom of speech and expression. And freedom of speech does not protect deception, impersonation, and defamation. Also, threat to public order, decency, morality, and state security. Additionally, women face disproportionate deepfake victimization, which is again the violation of Article 14 of the Indian Constitution. So these cases make one fact clear. Deepfakes are evolving far more rapidly than our laws. And therefore, the next question we must ask is, do our current legal provisions truly recognize and regulate synthetic media? Unfortunately, the answer is still no, at least not adequately. So let us understand this gap. Information Technology Act 2000, as we all know, Section 66D criminalizes impersonation using computer resources, but it does not address watermarking, platform liability, synthetic media disclosure. Further, Bharati Nyaya Sanhita 2023, there are specific sections regarding to deepfakes, although there is no specific express section which is of deepfake, but there are implied sections. For example, defamation, criminal intimidation. However, BNS only penalizes harm after it occurs. It does not enable preventive regulations of AI-generated media. Furthermore, there are other acts as well, Indecent Representation of Women Act, which covers obscene depiction of women, but does not contemplate AI-generated identity manipulation. There are other laws as well, but keeping the sensitivity of the time, we can't discuss each and every act over here. So we can conclude from this that India currently lacks a dedicated legislative and forensic framework for deepfakes, which involves watermarking and provenance, consent-based digital identity use, takedown timelines and platform duties, and lastly, the AI forensic authentication. So deepfakes do not merely alter videos, they alter realities. They threaten our constitutional rights, democratic processes, and national information integrity. Therefore, legal intervention is not optional, it is an obligation. So with this foundational understanding of the problem and the legal vacuum, I now invite my co-presenter to present the objectives, regulatory framework, enforcement mechanism, and key features of the Deepfake and Synthetic Media Regulation Act 2026. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. I will be taking you through the policy objectives and the core operative structure of the Deepfakes and Synthetic Media Regulation Act. My role essentially covers why the act is needed, how it is built, and what each chapter contributes to the making of this framework actually work on ground. To begin with, a quick background, deepfakes today operate in a legal gray area. They strike directly at privacy, dignity, reputation, electoral fairness, and even national security. Yet, our traditional statutes like the IT Act and BNS were never drafted with AI generated impersonation in mind. So, the parts I am explaining today are essentially the legal and institutional tools that give meaning to the rights already guaranteed by the Constitution. Each chapter answers a very simple but urgent question: how do we ensure that innovation continues without letting technology become a weapon? Every part I am about to explain gives structure to this vacuum and ensures that innovation continues, but not at the cost of human dignity or democratic integrity. Let me begin with the policy objectives. Come to page number 5, Manai. Scroll above. The first objective is the protection of fundamental rights. Deepfakes hits at Article 21's dignity and privacy, Article 14's guarantee of fairness, and Article 19's balance between speech and accountability. This act makes those rights enforceable by demanding consent, mandating traceability, and punishing misuse. This need became very clear with the Anil Kapoor case, where Delhi High Court had to protect his face, voice, and even his catchphrase after AI models misused them. The judiciary stepped in, but a statutory backbone, and that is exactly what this act provides. The second objective is technical accountability. Watermarking and provenance became the digital fingerprint of AI generated content. In March 2025, MeitY itself told Delhi High Court that India lacks a standard mechanism to trace deepfake origins, which directly help scammers and impersonator escape. The third being objective is institutional strength. Instead of scattered response from court, police, and platforms, the Act creates a dedicated authority, that is the NSMA, that serves as the brain, watchdog, and enforcement arm for the synthetic media regulation. The fourth objective is balancing innovation with ethics. Satire, journalism, research, entertainment all remain protected with simple disclosure. We regulate misuse, not creativity. And finally, the democratic integrity. Come to page number 11, where there is the preamble. The preamble openly acknowledges that synthetic media threatens privacy, reputation, and public order and national security. It recognizes that older laws cannot address these challenges adequately and that a specialized regulatory system is essential. A perfect example showcasing the urgent reflected in the preamble is the Rashmika Mandana deepfake incidents, where a single AI generated video created a widespread harassment within hours. The preamble essentially sets the constitutional and moral behind this act. Come to the page number 12, that is chapter 1, preliminary. Now, think of this chapter that sets the stage. It defines what exactly we are regulating: deepfakes, synthetic media, watermarking, intermediaries, malicious intent, etc. It also anchors the Act in Article 14, 19, and 21, following the proportionality principle that was established in K.S. Puthuswamy case. Now, why this chapter matters are simple. Without precise definitions, everyone would interpret deepfake differently.
Participant, your time is up. If you need more time, you may request an extension from the judge.
I just need 2 to 3 minutes more, if allowed by the judges.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Now I have to quickly do it. Now, chapter 2 deals with the regulatory framework. This is where the act stops being theoretical and gets practical. It lays down clear duties for all AI developers, creators, and platform: mandatory watermarking, content provenance system registration, timelines for takedowns, and of course the consent requirement that is mentioned under section 7. We included this chapter because without enforcement standard, regulation becomes symbolic. The UP 2025 digital arrest scam, where the criminal defaked a police officer and extorted nearly 90 lakh rupees from a victim, showed that why this is necessary. Coming to chapter number 3, the institutional structure, page number 14, 16. We included this chapter because even MeitY admitted in 2025 report that India lacks indigenous deepfake detection tools and coordinated enforcement mechanism. Court had to repeatedly instruct platforms in the cases like Sadhguru versus Google, which showed that the India needed a dedicated statutory authority instead of relying on judicial decisions. This chapter fills the institutional gaps. Chapter 4 deals with the implementation and enforcement. It is basically the execution engine of the act and tells us how everything will work in real life. It starts with a phased implementation plan. In the first 6 months, the NSMA set up, standards are issued, and national reporting portals goes live. By the end of the year, watermarking becomes compulsory, AI systems must be registered, and platform must undergo compliance audits. Another key part is the international cooperation. Since many scams originate abroad, Chapter 4 ensures India can collaborate through MLATs, multi legal assistance treaties, when dealing with digital evidence. Now, chapter 5 deals with penalties and offenses. Now, we have included this chapter because without strict multi-layered penalties, financial, civil, and criminal deepfakes would remain a low-risk, high-reward activity. Cases like the UP digital arrest scam, where victim lost nearly 90 lakh rupees to a deep-faked police officer, shows exactly why strong punishment is not optional but necessary. The chapter also defines deepfake related crimes, offenses, non consensual intimate deepfakes attract 3 to 7 years of imprisonment. Election interference deepfakes carry 5 to 7 years of imprisonment, and financial impersonation using AI can lead to punishment under BNS along with mandatory restitution to victims. Chapter 6 finally is some supplementary provision that we have included. It produces legitimate use like satire, parody, research, journalism, and entertainment as long as there is disclosure and no harm. It creates a nationwide grievance redressal system under NSMA so victim can report deepfake easily, track their complaints, etc. The Aishwarya Rai case, where takedowns were slow and inconsistent, Chapter 4 finally gives citizens a predictable and accountable system. Now, coming to the conclusion, just one more minute. In closing this policy, ultimately, India something it is has urgently needed for years: a clear constitutional and technologically capable framework to deal with deepfakes before they overwhelm our digital ecosystem. It protects the dignity, privacy, and autonomy of every individual by putting consent, provenance, and watermarking at the very center of the accountability. What truly strengthens this policy is the practicality because we have proposed can be implemented without with existing MATI and CERT in infrastructure and phased rollout ensures compliance without disruption. Economically too, the policy makes sense. A modest implementation cost compared to enormous financial losses deepfakes is already causing. Socially, legally, and technologically, it positions India not just to catch up but to lead in responsible AI governance. In simple terms, this policy does what a good law should do. It protects people, empowers institutions, and still leaves rooms for the honest innovations. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I now request the judges
Very
to
well.
please kindly put forward the questions.
Okay, so the first question that I have has to do with how is your policy going to ensure that civil liberties, for example, freedom of speech, is not unintentionally restricted through this policy?
Okay, thank you for the question. So may I answer?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so as I have already mentioned, that deepfakes are categorized under the category of 19 clause 2 and not under 19 clause 1. 19 Article 19 talks about freedom of speech and expression and deepfakes, but there are certain fundamental rights which have restrictions, which is like right to freedom of speech and expression is restricted to some extent under 19 clause 2. And in this category, under this article, deepfakes are categorized. So it is not violating the right to speech and expression, but a right which violates the right of another that needs to be restricted. And hence it is categorized under 19 clause.
Ma'am, also our policy protects civil liberties by targeting harm, not expression. Ma'am, satire, parody, journalism, research, and artistic use are expressly exempted as long as the disclosure is made.
Shall I ask my question?
Sure, ma'am.
Okay. Um, okay, I want to continue the question of civil liberties as well, because according to your policy, any action that is being taken firstly through state-controlled mechanisms. So, don't you think that has the potential for political repressions against dissidents, people who probably oppose the governing bodies, the present government, and political people who may be in power? Number one, that's one part of my question. And the second part is that, of course, you talk about getting people, and of course, as I understand, you are following the criminal law structure and having a whole full-fledged trial happen in order to understand whether a party is guilty or not. Now, the question, of course, of whether or not 19.2 is applicable, it's not something that we are disputing. Of course, reasonable restrictions are to be applicable. But the question that arises here, that a lot of deepfake creators, somebody who's probably violated me, is across the border, is not even within India, is sitting somewhere we don't know. How do you bring them to justice? What kind of cross border um, alliances can we have to bring them to justice?
Ma'am, state control does not mean that the power is unchecked power. Our policy builds safeguard so political misuse is structurally difficult. NSMA's decisions are reviewable and reasons must be recorded in writing, and every takedown or penalty can be appealed before an independent appellant panel and the courts, which prevent partisan targeting. Also, the exemption for satire, parody, and different kinds of other thing ensures that the freedom of speech is not suppressed and silenced unless it is crosses the narrow article article 19 clause 2. So for the
Okay,
foreign offenders, ma'am, you asked for the foreign offenders. The policy uses mandatory provinces, watermarking, and MLAT cooperations, like which I mentioned there above, and global traceability standards that the creator abroad is using. Even if the individual cannot be physically brought to India, their content can be legally taken down instantly. That assist in India can be frozen and platform
okay,
hosting
so
them can be penalized.
just to add in this answer, if you permit,
Yes,
yes,
please.
so under Chapter 6, we have already provided for the penalties, and it is for the platform liability along with the AI developers. And it is not mentioning or confined to India only. AI developers can be uh, throughout the world, right? So we have mentioned AI developers and platform liability. And since we know AI, like ChatGPT, it is made by OpenAI, the company OpenAI, right? So this is not confined to India only. We have platform liabilities. So yes, it is.
Right. So, if I could just follow up slightly on that point, because I feel like we are getting somewhere interesting with this. So, if at all we are having any kind of, say, for instance, somebody has created a deep fake and you've taken it down, but had that person been in India, you could have brought them to criminal justice, right? But say the person is sitting somewhere in the UK, and they cannot be brought before us in criminal justice. So, what kind of international alliances or diplomatic provisions that can happen? Because, like you said, that just political control doesn't mean that there is no independence. And that's also something quite interesting. I mean, I would want to know what kind of appointment mechanisms you have in the structures of the members who are going to be adjudicating the panel. So, those are two questions I have.
Okay, so we have already added in our draft like the C2PA, the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity, right? And another act which we have already added is the EU AI Act. And these are some of the acts which we have included in our policy draft and which somewhere binds, uh, I don't know. Hello.
We can hear you.
Ma'am, I would like to answer. For cross-border offenders, our policy relies on MLATs, digital evidence cooperation treaties also, and platform-level enforceability, which means India can compel global intermediaries, regardless of where the creator site is, to share metadata and freeze their accounts by the other country where the person resides also.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, judges. The floor is now open for audience to ask questions.
By the permission of the judges, may I ask a question? Yes. So, Speaker, I think most of you have like relied heavily on AI labeling, like deep fakes and all of that. I have just a very simple question to ask. What real world value does like AI labeling hold in the regulatory sense? Like I know that this is a deep fake, all right. What difference does it make? I'm
Watermarking.
yes, AI watermarking or AI labeling. Like most of the social media platforms are now flagging AI contents. I'm asking you from the point of like the victim. How does AI labeling help me in any way? What good does that do to me? What regulatory value does that hold to me? For me, sorry.
Sir, for the most important is the traceability. The watermarking creates traceability easily. When a deepfake is clearly labeled, the viewer is not deceived. Platform can classify it correctly, and courts also can distinguish satire from malicious impersonation. The traceability
And
is the main
also,
aspect for the
uh,
importance of watermarking.
this C2PA, which we have already introduced, it tells about the origin, the history of the AI developer behind that. Along with that, water making, which is a sign, basically a standard signature, which is being there on the AI output, which is mandatory signature which needs to be there, which we have already included in our public policy. It tells about who has made that uh, particular AI output and the developer behind it. So yeah,
So also it creates a digital trail because the watermark contains the origin, model, and the creator data, which can become a very good evidence, admissible evidence under the Evidence Act, I would say.
I hope if this satisfying.
Thank you to all the teams and respected judges. With this, we have come to the end of the presentation round. Now, I would like to invite Akshat to take over for the vote of thanks. Akshat, over to you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the entire Virtuosity legal team, I'm pleased to deliver the vote of thanks for making this event a huge success. And don't worry, I won't keep you long enough to put anyone to sleep. First, we extend our sincere gratitude to our patron, Dr. Khalid Shamim, for his guidance and support. The event wouldn't have been possible in the first place without his trust. A heartfelt thanks to Ms. Atifa Jahan and the entire ODR Nexus team for their cooperation and support throughout the event. We are also grateful to our judges, Advocate Ujjani Chatterjee and Ms. Sumaya Nomani, for their valuable time and insights, which added real value to the round. To all participants, thank you for the effort and enthusiasm you brought. The way you prepared, argued, and engaged with the problems is what gives this event its real character, regardless of how the results turn out later. And to everyone who joined us today, thank you for being here. Your presence made this edition of Deep Shield 1.0 truly memorable. We really look forward to seeing you again in the future editions. Thank you, everyone.
And now, as we have reached the conclusion of our event, I would like to ask the judges to give their feedback of the presentations.
Jenny, do you want to start?
Right. Ah, thank you. Um, Firstly, I feel like it's a great opportunity and a great forum to even for us to learn, and especially for me. I mean, even I'm trying to understand AI like everybody around me, and also as a lawyer to understand the laws around it. I think each of the teams were wonderful and they've done such amazing work in terms of drafting and thinking about something so relevant. And I feel like each of these documents should probably be sent out and uh, you know authorities who are probably trying to legislate on this, and legislators should have a look at it, because I think some all of you have some really wonderful ideas. And I mean, as a lawyer, usually a defense lawyer, all my questions I feel were on the defense side, like how am I gonna protect my clients, and how am I going to probably get some kind of relief. But I think as legislators, when you legislate a policy, you definitely try and make it as strict as possible. Challenging those sections is my job later on, but creating strict laws is definitely your job, and I feel all of you did that wonderfully well, so congratulations.
Yeah, so I have to start by saying that thank you so much for inviting me. It feels wonderful to see. Technically, all of you are my juniors, so it really feels good to see all of you working so hard. And then all the participants as well, every single team. I was happily surprised. Everybody came very well prepared. Your policies looked very interesting. Some of you went in deep details, discussed about chapters and sections and everything, which is very nice. So I have to say that great preparation. And mostly all of you were also very good with your answers during the questions. I know it gets a little difficult to think on spot and answer, but you were all pretty spot on. I really have to say that all of this research that you have done, I mean, I know that Ujjaini comes from a practicing lawyer's perspective. I, however, am through that perspective. Excuse me, yes, can you hear me? Yes, so through the perspective of a teaching faculty, I would say that do not let any of your research go to waste. Put it to good use. If you have to take out articles, take out of it, because if you have good ideas, people should know your ideas. You cannot just sit on them and think that, okay, we know them, this is enough. It is not. If you have something good, present it to the world, let them see. And I think it was just wonderful. And all the best, all of you. It was very good.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for everyone to join the event today. Your presence has greatly made this event such a memorable one. I would like to announce that the result for this competition will be announced valedictory ceremony that is being held on 23rd of November. Yeah, so thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Do we
Thank you.
have
Arisha, when do we share the results with you? The marking.
Ma'am, you may do it after the meeting or as it is convenient for you. Ma'am, if you could wait
All
for a
right. Thank you
second,
so
we
much.
can share together the virtual picture.
Sure.
Actually, kindly.
Yeah, give me a minute. Yeah, I clicked it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.